Good morning, everybody. You know, the best way to help demonstrate what we are talking about is to tell you what actually is happening. So this morning, when we talk about critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication at the elementary level, we want to give you a sample of what's going on. So, once as Nancy mentioned, professional learning communities provide the vehicle for teachers to foster these skills. If we expect students to be critical thinkers, we have to allow our teachers to be critical thinkers. And the time they have in collaboration gives them the time to be able to develop those lessons and create critical thinking opportunities. So, this is a sample from our 4th grade PLC last week. This is a sample of what was discussed, just to take their notes from the reporting on their professional learning community collaboration. So just a sample of what they're talking about last week that will be happening for kids this year in 4th grade in reading. Students in need of intervention will receive targeted assistance through a variety of programs linked to the need. Core students will be working with junior grade books, focusing on reciprocal teaching strategies such as questioning, predicting, summarizing, and making connections. Extension groups will be working on the classic series, focusing on synthesizing, evaluating rich pieces of literature, vocabulary, and Greek and Latin roots. So what does that tell us? It tells us that all students, all the time, are receiving instruction in critical thinking, not just those that are extending. So, they'll all be involved in literature circles, focusing on connecting, questioning, illustrating, evaluating, and synthesizing. So once again, this is just a sample of what the teachers were discussing in their PLC last week. So you see a good example of how it's going to take place. Mr. Deddy is going to now talk about math.
Well, good morning to you as well. Glad you could come this morning. And we're talking about, or my example is of critical thinking in the area of mathematics. And so not only in math, but students are asked to think critically across the curriculum. They're constantly analyzing and synthesizing information, whether it's in math or language arts or the other core subjects. So our Envision Math curriculum is a very conceptual program. It's not just drill and kill. So we're asking students to analyze word problems and number sentences and determine the mathematical demands and recognize what their responses are and how they're thinking. What is their cognition on how they're solving the math problems? So far we've trained cadres of teachers at both schools to be trained in this cognitively guided instruction. And there we have more opportunities for more teachers to be trained. And again, it gives us access to how they think to solve the problems. It's not just about getting the correct answer. It's about understanding the concepts in mathematics. And then when they learn how to analyze and synthesize information, they can apply that thinking to other content areas. Okay? What they use in math, they can then use in science to solve problems in science as well, in other content areas. So what the teachers are looking at is they're assessing the students' thinking. Okay? They want to facilitate mathematical discussions in the classroom that reveal how they're thinking and strengthen their ability to reason about math and to build their capacity for algebra in the future. And now I'm going to introduce Jenny Sahlberg, principal from the middle school.
Do I even need the microphone after corralling 200 6th graders to go to science camp yesterday in the gym? That made me nervous. We have a team of teachers at Thurston that we are fortunate enough to have be called the intervention team. And it's a teacher from each of the core subject areas, in addition to the special ed teachers, the counselors, and also some classified people. Together, this team has had the opportunity to attend some trainings which focuses on best first instruction. And that provides and encourages lessons that engage critical thinking with our students. So as we're moving towards this at Thurston, we realized that we had a need on our campus in regards to academic support. We can't just assume. In fact, we assume very little at Thurston Middle School. I am assuming that Mr. Modier, our assistant principal, is having a great time in Catalina. He hasn't called me yet, so I'm assuming he's having a good time. Yeah, there's no signal. Jenny, help me. No. Well, I've already seen pictures. They're having a great time. So we don't assume that our students have this academic vocabulary, something that is integral to the critical thinking process. So what we have done is created our smart words of the week. And we pass them out through our, we put signs up in each of the classrooms. We talk about it in our daily bulletin. And they're words like, we go through a high-frequency list of words that we've discovered. Analyze, document, estimate. And it's not just knowing what estimate means in math or science. It's across the curriculum. You can estimate in PE. You can estimate in language arts. So we're providing these students words and the academic vocabulary, the definition behind it, so that they can hear it once, twice, 3 times in different content areas. So hopefully that word eventually sinks in. Sometimes 6 times isn't enough. But we will keep putting it out there so that they can hear that. We've been creative, and this year in our Smart Planner, we provided a smart dictionary for them so that they can have this working dictionary of this academic vocabulary. We don't assume that they understand what analyze means or document means. We're trying to support them to build their academic vocabulary. We're also encouraging our teachers and our staff are encouraging our students, if they're using this appropriately in their blogs or in their homeworks, that we give a shout out to the student or we acknowledge that they're incorporating this vocabulary into their daily use. So they're using those critical thinking skills, those analyzing skills, to hear the word and then use it appropriately. That's our goal at Thurston, and that we have a good trip in Catalina. Those are our 2 goals. I'd like to introduce Dr. Culverhouse.
Got my quiet voice down up at the high school. But I used to yell too. But when you go to the high school, they don't run, they don't yell, they're just kind of... I did call Mr. Modier Monday night at his home to say have a great trip. And he did call me, and we'll talk later.
Okay.
At the high school, thanks to Mrs. Hubble coming up with this phrase of relevance makes rigor possible. And I think that's our theme at the high school this year. And you can see what you see on the slide right now is the college and career readiness of making that students should possess the ability to solve the real-world problems, master the content through academic language. The high school, we too are doing wow words, words of the week. Every teacher is printing the word out. It's going to go on the bulletin board of every classroom because I saw how well it worked at Thurston. We are now incorporating that at the high school because it does work with the consistency of the academic language. You're going to see college to career talking about critical thinking, successfully completing projects, self-assessment, some of the individual things that we're doing. We had a wonderful training prior to school starting with Jay Westover with 65% of our faculty at the training, and then that was also shared at the staff meeting with all of these with this context of talking about the relevance that makes a rigor possible. Some of the things that we're just really, it's exciting because the teachers are really on fire, I think, at the high school right now. I've lit the match, because things that are happening right now is that the English department is actually meeting with the social science department, and we're aligning our English lit that will align with our world history. The English 12 teachers have already contacted Saddleback College. There's a meeting set up, and they're starting to talk to the college about the expectations of students coming to them with writing skills, of having that communication with the colleges and the high school. The other thing that we're doing is on October 12th, we are testing all of getting the data, as Nancy and Shireen or all Mrs. Hubble and Mrs. Smith are always talking about, of gaining that data. On the 12th, all 11th graders and the top 100 10th graders will be taking the PSAT test on our campus instead of on a Saturday. All of the 10th graders will be taking the PLAN test. It's not a test, it's more of an assessment, and then all of the 9th graders are taking an assessment called Explore. The counselors will then be using that data to start guiding students at the 9th grade level on making the choices that they need to make for college and career readiness. How many of you were at the 12th grade parent last night? I see Linda, I know Kate was there. Our 12th grade, our counselors are wonderful. They're already starting talking to our kids. They've got a plan set up that they will be going actually into the 9th grade classrooms next week. They went into the 12th grade classrooms on Monday. The parent night was on Tuesday, of actually preparing the students in 9th grade so that when they go into the classrooms as 12th graders, their eyes are not bugging out of their heads and they're not in that panic mode. So they're going to scaffold all of these concepts into preparing a student for that college portion, starting in 9th grade and actually starting at the middle school, because Jenny and I are having conversations that they're actually going to be going to the middle school next month, talking to the 8th graders in the fall, and then talking to the 8th graders in the spring, of talking about this college to career readiness, because that's when we have to start. So we're doing some great things at the high school. And I'm going to turn it right back over to Mrs. Hubble.
With making up, I just need to change it. With making up something that we stole from somebody else. I did not make up rigor, or wellness makes.
Oh, you said you did.
That's what
You
I
told
them.
us.
Yeah, to do something to get an edge. So, finally, what's coming? Common Core standards, which will be, as Cindy already summarized, fewer but in more depth. They'll be clearer, better articulated grade to grade. They make a lot more sense to us in terms of the way that they're articulated compared to our current standards. They'll be higher. California is generally, along with Massachusetts, credited as having high standards now, but these will certainly be higher in terms of the kinds of things we're talking about today: critical evaluation, informational writing, analysis, synthesis, etc. And the standards will be different. In some areas like English, it will be much less literature-based and more informational writing, and then we'll be doing more and more writing across content areas. So we'll be continuing to align our instruction, our intervention, and our assessment around critical thinking and problem solving, collaboration, creativity and innovation, and communication. And we look forward to working with you as we do that. Thank you.